couple things to finish up with the Lab 2 stuff. One is I skipped over a couple commands I want us to look at. So let's look at those commands. Show interface FA0 slash FA0/3. This shows us a bunch of interface settings. These are more along the lines of the hardware settings. So is up, line protocol is up. So for us to have it working, it needs to be up and up state. Some statistics about the number of packets sent and number of packets dropped and some other stuff. So that is that. We also can run the show interface switch port, and this gives us information related to the operation as a switch port. So enabled, administrative mode, static access, operational mode, static access. Once we start talking about trunking, we will know what some of these things mean. Administrative trunking encapsulation, .1Q, operational trunking encapsulation, native, negotiation of trunking is off. So these are just different settings that are related to its function as a switch port. So that's two commands you can do to look at that information. Next, we are going to look at CDP. CDP is a tool that lets us get information from other Cisco devices, Cisco Discovery Protocol. So let's slap another switch out here for fun. Right, and then we'll connect the switches together. Hey, who knows what kind of cable you need to connect switches together? Everyone said crossover, right? Yes, we said crossover. So we'll connect our crossovers together. Our switch together with crossovers for fun. So we'll wait for that to come up, and then we will run the show CDP command and see what we can see across that link. That's not what I wanted. Show CDP. So if you type show CDP, it shows you some general information, sending CDP packets, sending a hold time value of 180, sending CDP v2 advertisements. So if we want to look at our devices we discovered with CDP, shows CDP neighbors, and this tells us, hey, we found a switch connected to FA024. It's a 3560, and it is connected, and we are connected to its 24. At least I think that's right. Capability, normally it has some information in there about whether it's a switch or a router. I'm not sure why that information is not showing up in this case. So basically that's a CDP. You can do show CDP entry, and we'll see what that has. Entry. This will show us, what is that, more detailed information about CDP. Yeah, so that shows a little bit more detailed information about the other device. Let's go run it on this one. That might be more interesting. Show CDP entry. Yeah, so I said it might be more interesting because the switch we were on had an IP address configured. The one we were doing CDP against did not have an IP address configured. So in this case, we can see the IP addresses that are connected. Let's see what else we can look at. We can also look at interface settings. So that tells us about the different interfaces and what they're doing, sending CDP packets every 60 seconds. So that's that. So let's go back over here. Let's see what else we want to do. Debug. Debug is a way that on Cisco routers and switches you can get extra information. So we'll do like the lab she says, debug Spanning-Tree all. I don't know if this is going to work in the simulator. Spanning-Tree. Yeah. Let's see what we can debug. we can't debug Spanning-Tree in the simulator. Let's debug some IP. Yeah, I don't know if we're not going to be able to debug any of that either because we're not working at layer 3. So go through the lab sheet on the real equipment in our lab and do the debug command. Basically what's going to happen is a bunch of stuff is going to scroll by really quickly and you're probably going to have no idea what all of it means. So that command I typed, you turn that on. When you get done with it, you can put no in front of that to turn it off, no debug Spanning-Tree all, or you can do undebug all. And that will turn off all debugging. Undebug. What does that even mean? Undebug all bug. Undebug all. And that will turn off all debugging. So some people like to go ahead and run this command and hit enter to turn it off, and then run the debugging command and hit enter, because as you may find out, with all the debugging information scrolling across the screen, it gets kind of hard to actually type in the commands because you can't really see what you're typing. So if you type it in and then hit enter, undebug all and hit enter, and then turn on the debugging and hit enter, then you can just hit up arrow and hit enter to turn the debugging off, which makes it a lot easier to do that. So now we want to do a little bit of config management type stuff. So we're going to go back to this guy and we're going to see if there's a Tftp server, which I don't think there is. So in that case, we're going to delete this machine and we're going to add a server. We're going to add a server. Oh, there we go, TFTP. Good. Hey, look at that. Alright, so we're going to add a server. We're going to connect our server to the switch. We're going to give it an IP address in VLAN 1. We're going to make sure we can ping it once it turns green. It's not green yet. Alright, so now we can ping it. So we'll go start our TFTP server, which is already on. So we want to copy our config off of the switch. We do that with a copy command, copy running config to TFTP. It's going to ask us for the name or IP address. We'll put the IP address of the machine server we just put on there. We'll be doing this with the real equipment. So you'll run the TFTP server that's on our Windows desktop. File name, you can put your name, just leave it to default. And now I copied over to the TFTP server. So let's go to this TFTP server, see if we can edit our file. So there's our config. I don't know if we can edit it in the simulator. So it's in essence, what I want you to do on the lab sheet is make some changes to your running config, save that over, and then copy it back to the running config on your switch. So then we'll do, to copy it back, we'll do copy TFTP run and 192.168.1.2 and then switch config, is that what it's called? Yes. So that wasn't the name of the file. So it was a capital S. And switch config. So that copy that back over. And then I want you to compare your running config before to what it was after. So basically, if you copy a config over, it gets merged with the running config, and there are specific rules about what gets kept from which config. So I want you to, in conjunction with the book, reference the book and figure out which configs statements stay and which configs go. So the reason we're doing this is because it's important to know that copying the config over to the running config isn't going to make you have the config you had on the desktop that you copied over. If you want to have the config that you had on the TFTP server take over and not be merged, you have to copy it to the startup config, copy TFTP start, copy it to the startup config, same steps we did before. Switch config, start config, same steps we did before, and now you need to reload the router, and then when it comes back up it will read that config, and that's the config it will use. So I guess the main point of this is copying the config back to the running config will not result in the switch having the exact configuration, or will not always result in the switch having the configuration that you think it might. So if you want the config that is on the TFTP server to be the config that the switch uses exactly, you need to copy it to the startup config and reload it. So that's about that, I believe. Yep, that's that.